Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our panel. We're going to be discussing what is possible in Web3. And I'd like to sort of just open it up to start for each of you to introduce yourselves.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I'll start. I'm Maria. I'm here representing DJ by Platform. We are a hub for 3D fashion designers. So we help brands get connected with fashion designers and try to help brands digitize either their production process or help them get into Web3 and digital fashion experiences.
My name is Adriana. I am the head of partnerships at The Dematerialized, and we are essentially a gamified atelier for the new luxury. So we work with both kind of heritage brands entering the space as well as emerging brands. We've actually worked with quite a few of the other fellow panelists today. And essentially, we really try and create a kind of gateway of what actually post-purchase utility can come out of digital fashion. So very excited to be talking today with all of you.
Yeah, so my name is Amber. I'm co-founder and creative director of The Fabricant. We are a digital-only fashion house, and we create clothing that is always digital and never, ever physical. And with that, we try to create a new reality for fashion, democratizing the industry by creating new tools for creators to work together on designs and everything on chain. So we're really excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daria, and I'm co-founder of DressX, and you will see part of my team, Natalia and Julian, here also supporting me. Very grateful for that. And DressX is your meta closet, your digital wardrobe, and we believe in the future when every person in the world will have the digital closets to complement their physical ones. And definitely these two realities will coexist. I see a person with like a headset, so he definitely has digital wardrobe, I hope so. And so everyone is on social media, and that's exactly how we started DressX, but we definitely believe in the future where everyone will have an avatar and will dress themselves in the digital closets. And here the reality is huge, and I'm happy to be at the panel where all of the companies are so different, but we all tackle this huge market. I hope it will be huge, even bigger than it is now. And DressX is the combination between Web 2 and Web 3, so we're agnostic to, we kind of use all the technologies to make it the adoption as fast as possible. David.
Yes. Hello, I'm David Giordano, Head of Business Development for Brand New Vision. We are a Web3 fashion company, and we do a lot of what they do, but what we've been working on the last 6 months is launching our own metaverse, which will be in the first quarter of 2023, and that's what we do. So more to come.
Amazing. Well, I'd love to sort of, since you're all our founders of really helping fundamentally create the structure for what the Web3 space is going to be for fashion, I'd really love to know what you're doing as far as creating the tools and the infrastructure for these brands to enter into the space. And kind of just an open question to whoever wants to say.
So,
Just start.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll start and then we'll take it from there. So as I said, actually here in the panel, I think I'm the one representing both traditional physical fashion and so digitization process. We help either shift the digitization process for normal production brands and help them for Web3. So what we do, it's try to help brands connect with the artists and understand what is the best possible experience for them to get out of Web3. So, but for instance, you are very specialized in this. So.
Yes, and we've partnered together before. From our perspective, and I mean in general, I think what's really interesting about brands entering the space at the moment is we've almost seen like epochs of how brands have entered the space. So there was a nascent phase, there was the kind of experimentation phase, there was, with all due respect, the money-making phase, and then there was essentially, now I think what we're entering is really the kind of creative, refined phase. And we have worked with a lot of, like I said, heritage brands entering this space as well as emerging brands and emerging creators. And to see them come at it from such different perspectives is really important because I think what we're trying to do is actually get towards a point where creating value in new ways that's being unlocked and hasn't been unlocked in the traditional fashion industry before. So focusing on that post-purchase utility or access and using digital fashion as the gateway to be able to do that. So, to Daria's point, focusing on how you can actually dress your virtual self, or I guess the extension of your own personal identity, and then how that actually relates to community-based experiences and events, things you can unlock, or almost like a membership pass, etc. So seeing all of these different brands enter the space and the Dematerialized being almost kind of the gateway to that, we're very lucky that we can actually come at this from such different perspectives, but really focus on creating value in new ways that fashion never had before.
Yeah, I think in general it's wonderful that brands and traditional fashion industry is one of the most has been one of the most welcoming to Web3, right? They've really started to embrace that, which is really interesting that all these brands are doing such beautiful things. I think one more to add to that is, yes, I think everybody comes at it from their own perspective, which is beautiful and also really important that it's authentic. But also, I would love to see more new gatekeepers. Like right now, there's always the traditional gatekeepers that are creating the big projects and are doing the same things. But I would love to see more brands emerge, like from young designers that are not able to really create a brand now. How are they going to create a brand in the future? And also, if you're a brand, how do you collaborate with your designers, right, with talent? Because right now, if you are a young designer and you collaborate with a big brand, there's no way you are going to get the same amount of money as they do. And I think the system that we're creating here in Web3 allows for this equality and the fact that you can actually co-create together and earn these kind of sums of money together and really collaborate in a very fair way instead of it being this kind of exploitative way that it often goes now. So for me, that is also offers an opportunity for brands to really connect to their audience in a better way, because they're really able to connect from an authentic place and really talk to the community directly. So
I love that.
Yeah, it was such nice thoughts from everyone. Heard someone is talking on the back end. Yes, and in terms of infrastructure, Matthew, the question that you've asked. So for DressX, for us, as mentioned, it's really important to popularize digital wardrobe and this notion that every person in the world will have a meta closet, which means that I can share it, because it's unlikely that I can invite all of you to my house in Los Angeles. I would love to, but next time. So you would see my wardrobe in physical, but I can definitely share with you DressX and kind of give you a sense of my styling tools and how I see myself and what clothes I like. And that's exactly the future that we see when people will interact and speak the language of fashion through those visual kind of pictures and the representation of themselves, as ladies told already, and how you can wear digital fashion. That's exciting, because fashion in the end is the language. I'm wearing this pendant that is of blue and yellow color, and then everyone understands that I'm Ukrainian. And there are so many other things that you can do via fashion and via translating what you believe in. And this is really cool. And we just want to translate it into the digital reality. And there are a lot of infrastructural things that needs to be built, not only by DressX, but by so many other companies, in order to make sure that digital fashion is available to billions of people and not just like 10,000 people at the conference and etc. Because here where the interesting game will start. And actually we have all the kind of tendencies that it will go that way, because actually the entire idea came from gaming, and people were spending a lot of money on the gaming skins many years before we all started to work in the industry. And that's why we just need to bring this industry to that point where it will be no road back, and everyone will just believe in the same vision as we all do. And that's why more companies, if they exist in the space, I think the better it will develop. So that's why we're all also trying, I think, to collaborate to the extent that is possible. And I think that is very significant for this type of fashion industry, because in traditional fashion industry, it's hard for people to do collaborations. It's not that they're not happening, but they're happening less often. Sorry, David, for stealing some attention.
Back to the question, yeah, I agree it's based on utility and like the next phase. I think the first phase of experimentation is over. And what I try to do is make brands look more long-term. I think everyone wants to do a marketing activation, get that first press, but they're not really thinking in the terms of a roadmap. So that's the challenge that I'm having these days. So I always start off every conversation with a brand with a simple framework of community first. Like, what is your community value? And I think a lot of times it's hard for fashion, you know, myself coming from fashion, the ego is so strong to put someone else first. So the idea of why would a community member want to be associated with you is the first question. And sometimes I never get callbacks after that. It just goes silent. Next, you have to worry about your brand and the idea of moving into a Web3 territory. There's different characteristics that come from gaming. There's, whether it's spinning logos or still aesthetics matters. And I think people from the Web3 world can look at a website, look at a project, and sniff it out whether it's authentic or not in a second and be interested or not interested. Then you can move into collaborations. Then we can start talking about metaverse. But I think a lot of times it's flipped on its head and everyone wants to be in the metaverse, the AR, the VR, which I think is really important. But what I'm always trying to do is really preach the idea of community. And I spend a lot of my time making like utility kind of menus for everyone. I try to make it easy. And I think they'll start to understand when nothing's happening, they have to go back to the drawing board and think in terms of long term. It's not just a little marketing activation. So,
yeah, maybe just to jump in on that point, in terms of the kind of long-term aspect as well, I think, like I said, from the kind of epochs that we've had, this next phase is not just about, well, how do we do something as an immediate activation or as a PR exercise or as a, you know, we are signaling as a brand that we are entering the space. This next phase is really about how do we actually build something that is genuinely sustainable. And I think to talk about gaming, you know, there have been such in-depth narratives built into these games, considered logic at every turn, every path. And to be able to recreate that in a fashion context is really an interesting take. So, you know, I think that's really where the focus is for the next, you know, epoch, I suppose.
I totally agree. I have to say, like, I almost think it's almost more Netflix production than runway production going forward. Because I'm working on a project now where I had to hire a screenwriter. And I'm like, wow, this is so exciting to really get the lore.
Yeah, it's even looking at the root of what's gamifying experience now, and I think luxury is such an opportunity for that. Are you all looking at sort of different ways to really gamify the luxury experience or the retail experience even for these brands?
Totally. I think it's really important to think about how this can be an entertainment as well. You know, like how can you actually get your community to be excited and really rave, you know, around your brand and become like super fans because they love what you do, and in a way they get value from that. Yeah. So it's not just about the fact that I buy a Louis Vuitton bag and that's now my status symbol. No, if I buy a Louis Vuitton bag, do I also get, you know, can I stake it? You know, can I earn money off that over time? If the brand grows, does my Louis Vuitton bag, you know, get more valuable? And I think as consumers, like you're no longer a consumer, you actually are a co-creator, and you're co-creating together with the brand. Can you influence the designs? Can you create your own way of how you want to look at the designs yourself? And I think that is really creating value for the people who are involved with the brands, and it's actually giving them the credit that they deserve, because just being a consumer is no longer really exciting, to be honest.
It's not passive anymore. Like, we're not passive buyers, passive consumers. We are part of the history now, and this is one of the most beautiful things that Web3 and digital fashion can bring to this industry. It's like reverse the traditional cycle of one designer to the audience. So everything is balanced now. That's very interesting. And not only for luxury, you have the sense of belonging, of ownership, of being part of the clan, if you want. But for all, even the massive fashion, I think this is one of the most interesting things to explore in Web3.
Yeah, maybe one other thing to add on that as well is saying that historically, I mean, if we look at what's worked in the past, think about the success of loyalty programs and how over time they actually manage to retain people and excite people and continue to have people engaged with what they're trying to do. that is essentially the gamifying element that is now coming into play. And then we have to think about how do we genuinely, to everyone else's point, add value and keep that engagement at a high. And I think that's where it's becoming very interesting to think about that utility, that post-purchase aspect, the gateway, unlocking access to things like events or community-based benefits, or again, to Amber's point, co-creating with the brand to actually create new experiences or individualized experiences as well. So personally, I think the gamification aspect is leading to this entirely new set of value, which again, coming back originally to what we're trying to do is build that new definition of luxury. Because luxury is no longer just based on status. It's based on all of these other aspects combined.
And since we have a couple more seconds, I just had one more question to kind of ask to the whole panel. But since we're sort of at this moment where media and social media migrations are happening so quickly, and before it was taking a period of time before someone was going from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok, now they're happening faster and faster. What advice would you have for brands or individuals trying to get into the space with these migrations constantly evolving?
To start now. Because if they don't, they will miss kind of the big, not even the trend, but the new reality. Because I do remember I started my career a very long time ago. So 15 years ago, there was no notion of luxury being purchased online. And so many brands did not believe that it will eventually happen. And it was very hard for them to enter this reality. And obviously, those that did not enter back then, when they kind of did not see the future, when people will purchase via Net-a-Porter and so many other retailers, they actually lagged behind in terms of revenues and in terms of recognition and in terms of like B2C customers. So the same will happen to all of those brands that won't step into the game of like Web2/Web3 and digital fashion and digital, because it's a new communication. And I always use this example. I have a son of 10 years old at home back in Los Angeles, where one day you will come to see my wardrobe, unless you download DressX. And so basically he discovers all the fashion brands via Roblox when he plays the game. So we never go to the stores. We usually do some other stuff, but like he knows about Adidas, he knows about Lil Nas X. And when I started to trace how he kind of understood these brands, and I found out that he just discovered them on Roblox. And that's exactly what's happening with his entire generation. And he's 10 in 6 years. He will continue to spend his own money, not mine, as now I'm still paying for Roblox. But yes, and that's the future, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I think we haven't even seen the social platforms that are coming yet. I think that's also something that we have to keep in mind. The social platforms of the future are going to be extremely immersive, where you can walk around, have your own body, really dress yourself, which is already happening in Roblox, but in very low definition. But of course, there will be a Roblox, which is high definition, and really creating together. Also, the games that they play together or the fashion they create together, it's really exciting. It's this boom of creativity that we really see happening right now with this younger generation, which is really exciting.
And also whether or not they actually will be platforms, whether or not the digital assets themselves could be the gateway to the social experience. Yeah. So I think there's huge potential for us to think about this in a totally different lens than we have from Web 2, where everything, like we say, was centralized. It was very almost this organized structure and logic of how people communicate with each other. And now we have totally new communication methods. And why not allow the actual digital versions of yourself be that communication method?
Does anyone else have anything to say? No, I think it's important for us to be looking at, how everything is shifting. And we all, as an industry, I think, need to be malleable. And I'm always looking at what tools now are becoming the new focal points. Are you looking at any particular, whether it's AR or digital printing, or is there anything you're looking at either in the physicalized or digitalized world right now as the technology to focus on?
I mean, as I said, we come from we work with both retail, physical experiences and all the AR and VR dimension to it. So everything that's immersive, it's what's happening at the moment. It's what brands are looking for. But I think what Adriana said is very interesting. I mean, and we are still talking about social platforms, but I think it's going to merge in the concept, a new platform. So we're going to, when we shift from having an external equipment like a cell phone to other forms of connection to digital worlds, and this is not that far-fetched, it's happening already. So I think that's when we're going to see there's a very big world coming up. So yeah, it's hard to say at the moment.
And user friendliness is the key.
Yeah.
Yes, if nobody will, if the technology is too complicated, nobody will use it. So I think that's what this winter is for, really, is creating the entry point for everybody to join us in this movement. 'Cause it needs to be easy to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that technology here is the commodity, because like everyone can build now AR, and you can either use like Snap AR or Apple AR. You can build your own. It's not a rocket science anymore because it's already like released everywhere. So everyone knows how to do it. So it's more about, yes, the simplicity of the product, the simplicity of the vision. There is still some tech stack that is important in the interoperability and some other more complex things, but I mean, that will all come, but there are so many things that we can do with existing set of technologies. We as a company definitely invest in a tech stack because it is important, but I see the future for so many designers who don't really need to invest in tech per se, but can invest in content and be successful there.
Yeah, I agree. One of the first things I want to talk about was simplicity, and how even my job becomes how to explain what's happening in a simple terms. I think we overcomplicate it sometimes. Like, I don't use the word NFT anymore. I don't know who does. But the idea of when Web3 is in mass adoption, I don't think people will even know they're in Web3. It's just going to be there.
In the meantime, we can get to sound like Mary Kay salesmen. What do you think is... you need to wrap? Oh, perfect. Sorry. So it looked like a definitive wrap moment. But so sort of to wrap it up, I would say, what are you most excited for in the future for your companies?
Billion users. The only thing that excites us.
I mean, I'm very excited about seeing an actual shift in the fashion industry, like being a more respectful, conscious, sustainable industry, very inclusive, like very community-based, without any kind of hierarchy. So I'm excited about all these very beautiful aspects of how we can shift and make it more human somehow.
Yeah, completely agree. I couldn't agree more. I think that is really the key in creating a better fashion system where everybody can actually co-create together and really create a beautiful new way of working. Because right now it's just still horrifying. A lot of people working in fashion, you probably all worked in traditional fashion. It's not a fun thing to work in traditional fashion, right? There's a lot of things to say about it. And it's a very harsh industry. So to create a better system where we actually value each other, not just from a point of what can you do for me, but really from what are you in terms of a person, and really working together from a fair place. I think that's extremely important to building a better future.
Yeah, I agree to that. I'm excited to see the next generation of designers that's going to come out of this. I think we're going to see some incredible talents, not bound by physics or gravity. And from our company point of view, I'm excited that we have started working with a lot of gaming companies where we're going to use gaming engines and the mechanics of gaming engines and bring those to fashion. So I think that's going to be really exciting.
And just to top it off, I would say we're very excited about new forms of value. So, if you think about something like shells, which used to be a form of currency, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to invent a new form of social currency, social status, and communicating with the rest of the world through totally novel and totally new experiences that don't exist yet.
I love that. Well, I guess that wraps up our panel today. I really want to thank all of you for coming out today, sharing your amazing knowledge, If you haven't already, please go check out the Jing Meta newsletter. We have tons of breaking news happening bi-weekly. And coming up next is Nico. But thank you all so much for joining. I hope we brought some value to your day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.